They didn't hang her. They didn't behead her.
They took an iron hook and lifted her into the sky while she was still alive. No trial that mattered.
No mercy that counted.
Just a crowd staring up, waiting for the moment she stopped moving.
And the most terrifying part? This wasn't a mistake. It was a message.
Buried inside medieval justice is a punishment so extreme it sounds invented.
But it wasn't a myth. It was policy.
Tonight, you're going to see how one woman became the perfect target, and why a single hook could silence an entire city.
Her name was Anna.
History doesn't always agree on her surname, and that detail matters, because medieval records rarely cared about women unless they were useful as warnings. Anna lived in a world where the law was not a shield.
It was a weapon.
A world where your survival depended on who claimed ownership of your story. Your husband, your lord, your priest, your enemies. The city was loud with iron and smoke. Workshops hammered day and night. Merchants argued over salt and cloth. Soldiers drifted through taverns like storms looking for a roof to tear off. And above all of it sat the ruling class, men who spoke in decrees and collected fear like tax.
Anna wasn't born noble. That was her first crime.
She was the kind of woman medieval towns pretended didn't exist until they needed someone to blame.
Not a queen. Not a saint.
Not protected by family crests or church titles. Just sharp-eyed, stubborn, and difficult to intimidate. And in a medieval city, that made her dangerous. Rumors grew around her the way mold grows in a cellar. Quiet, spreading, impossible to scrub away once it takes hold. The whispers said she knew too much. That she had seen the wrong faces in the wrong places. That she had a mouth that didn't close when powerful men entered the room. In those days, authority didn't need proof. It needed consensus. If enough people repeated a story, the story became a verdict. The medieval system wasn't designed to discover truth. It was designed to preserve order. And order meant everyone staying in their place. When order broke, when theft rose, when fights spilled into streets, when someone important was embarrassed, leaders demanded an example.
A spectacle.
Something so unforgettable that it would crawl into the minds of the living and stay there. That's where the hook enters history. Execution by hanging was common. Beheading, reserved for the privileged. Burning, for crimes the church wanted to turn into sermons. But the hook, lifting a body by iron, displayed like meat, belonged to a different category. It wasn't just punishment. It was humiliation made physical. It told the crowd, you are not watching justice. You are watching ownership. And Anna, poor, exposed, rumored, isolated, was the perfect material for that kind of message. Because medieval power feared many things: invasion, rebellion, hunger. But it feared one thing most: a person who refused to be afraid. History remembers Anna not because she ruled an empire, but because her death reveals how medieval authority truly worked. Not with laws written in ink,
but with terror written into bodies.
And when the day came, the city didn't gather to learn what she had done. They gathered to learn what they were allowed to become. Anna rose the only way someone like her could.
Not with armies. Not with titles. With presence.
She became known in the markets first. Someone who negotiated hard, who didn't flinch, who wouldn't lower her eyes. People listened when she spoke because she sounded certain. And certainty, in a fearful city, is contagious. She found allies among the overlooked.
Laborers. Widows.
Apprentices tired of being kicked into silence.
They didn't call it a movement.
They called it survival.
To the poor, Anna looked brave.
To the powerful, she looked like a spark near dry hay. And once the rumor took hold that she had influence, real influence, every small disruption in the city began to drift toward her name. Not because she caused it. Because the city needed a face to hate. The turning point came quietly.
A missing purse. A wounded official.
A fire that started in the wrong alley. Suddenly, the city's leaders wanted answers fast. Not true answers, clean answers. The kind that restore confidence before the next sunrise.
They called Anna a thief. Then a conspirator.
Then something worse, a corrupter of order. Friends stopped meeting her eyes. Neighbors closed doors when she walked by. Fear is loyal to whoever feeds it. And then the betrayal: someone spoke. Someone close enough to know her routines. Someone terrified enough to trade her life for their own safety. The accusation didn't need to be consistent. It only needed to be repeated. Once her name entered the mouths of officials, it was no longer a rumor. It was a target painted in public. And medieval targets rarely survived.
They took her in daylight.
That wasn't necessary. That was theater. Hands like iron.
Voices like stone.
A rope tight enough to make breathing feel like permission. People watched from windows, pretending they weren't watching.
Anna didn't scream.
That detail infuriated them. Because panic makes punishment look righteous. Silence makes it look like cruelty. They drag her past the very stalls where she once stood tall. Past the faces that once nodded to her. Now those faces looked away, as if not seeing her could erase their guilt. In the holding place, dark, damp, crowded with the smell of old fear, she learned the final truth. There would be no fair hearing. No careful weighing of evidence. The decision had been made before she was seized. She wasn't being judged.
She was being used.
The square filled early. Not because the people loved blood.
Because they loved certainty. A platform. Guards.
A priest murmuring words that sounded more like permission than comfort. Then they revealed the hook.
Not a weapon. A tool.
Heavy iron, curved like a question mark with only one answer.
They bound her. Not gently. Not quickly.
The crowd held its breath when the iron touched her. This method wasn't meant to end a life instantly. It was meant to extend the moment where the city could look up and understand what defiance cost. They raised her into view.
High enough to be seen.
High enough to be remembered.
People didn't cheer at first. They watched.
Because deep inside them, beyond fear and obedience, a quieter thought began to move.
If it can happen to her,
it can happen to anyone. Anna's death didn't just remove a woman from the streets. It rewired the city. After that day, voices lowered. Arguments ended faster. Neighbors reported neighbors before suspicion could reach their own doors. Fear didn't merely spread, fear organized itself. And that was the real purpose of the hook.
Not punishment. Programming.
Medieval rulers didn't need everyone to believe the accusation. They only needed everyone to remember the consequence. Because when the cost of being difficult becomes unbearable, people stop asking questions. They stop resisting. They stop imagining a different life. Anna became a warning suspended in the air, proof that power could reach into any home, grab any person, and turn them into a lesson. So here's the question that won't leave you afterward. If a society can be trained by one public terror, what terrors are training us now, quietly, invisibly, every day?